1, 0, all engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
50 years ago next week, Apollo 11 blasted off for the moon. Over the course of the Apollo program, a dozen astronauts made the 240,000-mile journey to the moon's surface, scooping up hundreds of pounds of rocks and soil. We have a rare glimpse this morning inside the secure windowless facility at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston that houses 80% of the lunar samples brought back. Mark Strassmann suited up to see it.
Inside a Federal Reserve-grade bank vault.
Wow, that is thick.
Ryan Ziegler showed us the Lunar Sample Laboratory, NASA's collection of moon rocks. In here, our white anti-contamination jumpsuits are a must.
This is the largest collection.
This is by far the largest collection anywhere in the world.
Humanity's first samples taken from another world, older than any rocks found on Earth.
So this is essentially the oldest rock from the moon. That rock is 4.4 billion years old, and the moon might only be 4.4 billion years old.
Try to get a rock in here.
6 Apollo missions landed men on the moon.
This one right here? That's it. You got it right there.
Their astronauts turned geologists collected in all 842 pounds of lunar rock and soil, starting 50 years ago this month.
There you go.
This was the last sample collected on the Apollo 11 mission, and Neil Armstrong decided that the rock box with the samples in it looked empty, so he shoveled 4 or 5 shovelfuls of dirt into the rock box.
He just did it on his own.
Did it on his own.
Apollo 11 soil sits inside these 2 dishes.
Probably the most valuable sample the Apollo 11 mission brought back. If I could pick one sample from Apollo 11, this is it.
Not a rock.
Not a rock, soil.
Nitrogen pumped inside these stainless steel cabinets preserves the rocks inside. This display showcases the collection's highlights.
Is this the Lunar Rock Hall of Fame?
Pretty much, yeah.
Rocks as old as our solar system, Apollo's geologic legacy. It's a hands-on collection for someone with training and 3 sets of gloves.
How heavy is that one?
This weighs 6 or 7 pounds would be my guess.
Still kind of fun to pick it up.
Oh, it never stops being fun. It's amazing. Every day I come into the lab is just like the first day.
Many rocks have stories. This one involves Apollo 16 astronaut Charlie Duke in 1972.
Of all the rocks collected by the Apollo missions, that was the biggest. So there's a great video of Charlie Duke rolling that up the leg of his spacesuit because it was so big, and it turned out to be a really important sample.
It was hard work, yeah.
Duke, now 83, talked to us about rock collecting on the moon.
Working against that suit was demanding. So after 8 hours in that suit, you were really tired. You'd squeeze in the gloves and in and out of the car and trying to bend over, and so it was exhausting.
Big Navy salute.
But worth it.
How about rolling that one over?
The rocks revealed secrets,
That's 20 pounds of...
including the moon's own violent origin. Scientists now believe a Mars-sized planet collided with Earth, exploding a ring of debris that formed the moon. That was about 4.5 billion years ago.
How significant were bringing back the moon rocks?
The moon rocks taught us about the entire solar system.
Arguably the most important geological find ever.
I'm sure there were people who'd argue with that, but I think they would lose.
This corner houses something special.
In our top secret, high security, don't go beyond this cord cabinet.
Inside are the final 6 pristine moon samples, unsealed, unstudied until now. NASA will soon open 3 of them, saving the rest for the next generation of researchers. For CBS This Morning, Mark Strassmann at the Johnson Space Center.
You know, a few months back, I got to go to Flagstaff, Arizona to the USGS to spend time with the geologists who trained the Apollo astronauts, and they say it took some convincing by a guy by the name of Gene Shoemaker to get NASA to go along with the rock collecting
to collect the samples.
business, so to speak.
And
so
who knows what we'll find in those samples that have yet to be looked at.
It's so exciting they're still there.
I know.
Unbelievable.
I love the way Charlie Duke described working against the suit. You know,
pushing it up his
pants.
I'll point out none of the samples, it turns out, are cheese. The moon is not made of cheese.
Yeah, that's
conclude. Tuesday on CBS This Morning, we will be at Kennedy Space Center to retrace the steps of Neil Armstrong and the Apollo 11 crew leading up to the moon landing, and we'll bring you a special report marking the exact moment Apollo 11 blasted off 50 years ago. Later that day, Norah O'Donnell will anchor the CBS Evening News from Kennedy Space Center and bring you a CBS News primetime special, Man on the Moon. That's 10, 9 Central, right here on CBS.